Afternoon everybody, and welcome to another video from Tour Travels. So I'm here in a very random little park in Novi Sad. I came here to get a bit of peace and quiet because it's quite chaotic in the sense there's lots of police, armed police everywhere. I'm not sure what they're doing. Maybe it's another protest, maybe it's a football game, I have no idea. Alright everybody, let's get down to today's video. So some of you remember that my last time in Novi Sad I made a video about a shared values visa for Russia, okay? Now for those who haven't seen that and don't know what the shared values visa is about, so yeah, basically Russia have a new option for foreigners wishing to move to the country now. So it's for citizens of unfriendly countries. So basically all the unfriendly countries, as you can imagine, are the Western countries, like the European Union countries, or most of them, the UK, USA, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and a few others. So if you're from the UK, USA, most of the European Union, for example, and you're unhappy with the way things are going, the woke agenda, or the woke, what is it called, the liberal mind virus, as Elon Musk calls it, or something like that. So guys, if you're unhappy with the way things are going in your Western country, then you can apply for residency in Russia. So you know, most of this is going to stem from woke culture, which is obviously a huge problem in many Western countries at the moment. So naturally this is going to attract many conservatives and Christian conservatives, because in Russia there's really not much of this woke agenda. For white heterosexual men, you're not going to be vilified. Instead of trying to encourage you not to have children in the West, in Russia they're trying to promote family values, Christian family values, like you know, having 2.4 children or more. So yeah, in Russia you don't have really the woke agenda. They're promoting family values. And there's some other things that make Russia very attractive to foreigners at the moment, like they've almost completely banned GMO food, and what else? They've banned childless propaganda. So if you go around spouting childless propaganda, promoting that, you can get yourself in trouble. And you don't need to worry about bringing up your children in Russia and getting transgender people coming into your child's school to educate them. Anyway guys, you get the general idea. Now let's talk about the visa and the residency itself. So I'll go over some of the information I've talked about before. I'll try and keep it as simple as possible. So what happens is, if you wish to apply for residency in Russia, what you need to do first of all is apply for, if you're not in Russia already, you need to apply for a private visa, okay? So this private visa, it gives you 3 months in Russia. And during this time in Russia, once you're inside Russia, then you can apply for your residency. So yeah, once you apply for your residency, it can actually take up to 4 months. So obviously the visa's for 3 months, residency application can take up to 4 months. So you're obviously wondering what will happen. Well, as long as you can show a receipt to show that your residency application is in motion, then they'll allow you to stay to the conclusion of that, I believe. So the process is something like this. In your own country, you need to apply for the private visa at the Russian consulate in your own country, okay? And first of all, they'll get you to fill in an online application form. So these are going to be pretty exhaustive and exhausting. So they ask you a lot of questions. You're going to get, you know, the Russian application form for those from non-friendly countries is a bit more intense for those from other countries. So I found anyway. So you have the application form. They ask about your work history, where you live, your education, your income, all sorts of things. And they also ask you for a certificate of criminal record. So you want to make sure you have a clean criminal record, or at least nothing serious. You know, it could be if you stole an apple 20 years ago, it might not be a serious situation, but you know, they don't want people coming to the country that are violent criminals or career criminals or something like that. So yeah, you need to provide a criminal record. Now, in the UK, let's get on to what I did, all right? So you need a full criminal record that goes back your whole life. So that's, in the UK, it's called an acro check. And I think that's like specific for the UK, but I'm not sure. But I'm not sure. This is quite a new thing for consulates around the world. I'm not sure if they're all kind of in unity with their regulations, because I've heard of other people who applied at the British consulate in another country and they took a simple DBS check, for example, which is much simpler and much cheaper. Now, actually getting this criminal record check isn't too much of a pain, but the key is that this criminal record check only has 3 months validity, okay? So when you submit your documents in Russia, it needs to be like less than 3 months old. So that's not going to be too much of a problem if you're traveling from your Western country to Russia. But you know, if you're in Russia already, then you need to get your criminal record check from your own country and then get it sent to Russia. It could be a bit of a problem because there's a limited postal service to Russia at the moment. So you know, there might be just a clutch of international carriers that can do this for you. So everybody, for those of you who watch this channel, you'll know that the shared values visa is right up Tall Travels' street. You know, that would be perfect for him. But I had to, you know, I had some reservations about applying as a British person as opposed to being a Serb, because obviously the relations between the UK and Russia at the moment are piss poor. They're probably Russian enemy number one ahead of USA. So, and also in London at the consulate embassy, they're kind of running a skeleton crew because, you know, lots of diplomats have been expelled from both countries. Now, let me tell you what the whole kind of process is with regard to fees and documents and that kind of thing. Now, as you can guess from the title of this video, I didn't get to the second stage where I actually get inside of Russia and lodge my application. But yeah, so what happens? You get an appointment to the consulate, let's say in the UK, and they go through your application form, ask you some simple questions. It's not like a you know, formal interview where there's a guy at a big teak desk smoking a cigar and interrogating you. In the first instance, at the start of this process, I just sent an email to the consulate in the UK explaining why I wanted to become a resident of Russia. So yeah, you can guess the kind of responses I gave. So yeah, I went to the Russian consulate and I took with me the printed out application form. They would have received the online one as well. And I took a copy of my criminal records, which showed that I'm a good boy, of course. And money, I paid, I think it was £70. So the visa fee is not actually that bad. What else did I take? I took a passport photo. Like I took one of these passport photos. You have to stick it on the form with a Pritt stick or whatever. And there might be something else I took, I can't quite remember, my mind's going a bit blank. Anyway, so got to the consulate, and you know, they were very cordial at the consulate. It's all very professional and friendly, and it is all good. I had somebody at the consulate there just ask me a couple of questions. Everything's fine. Now everybody, I did not think that this visa application would be a foregone conclusion. You have some people on YouTube, not Russian YouTubers, but YouTubers in Russia saying it's easy, blah, blah, blah. Well, I did not think that. And I'll tell you a major reason why. Now, for my established viewers on YouTube, you will know that a few years ago I was deported from Belarus. Now, I'll tell you the whole story, okay? It's a very long story, but I'll try and whittle it down. So 2019, British passport. There's a special deal for foreigners wishing to go to Belarus to watch these athletic games. It's called the European, I don't know, sports games or whatever. So the deal was that from people from the countries that didn't need a visa, you could go visa-free if you had proof of a ticket to these games, and you could also go to Russia to kind of transit through to Belarus. So I thought, well, hey, because, you know, at the time I just had British citizenship, and I've been wanting to go to Russia for a long time. So this was my first time in Russia. So it's a bit kind of disorganized, to be honest, because I was flying from Moldova to Moscow, and at the Moldova airport they said, "Where's your visa? You need a visa for Russia." I said, "No, I don't." So I've got a ticket for, you know, the shot put event in Minsk, and you know, he was adamant he was right, but he was not. And eventually he called like Minsk airport, and they didn't know anything about it, and eventually called like Moscow airport, and they confirmed and let me on the plane. Now this visa-free thing was for 30 days, and I got to Moscow airport, and when you go to Russia you get a white immigration card. I think it's called Billy Carton or something like this. Karta, not carton. Billy Carter. So and they stamp the date that you arrive and the date you're supposed to leave. Now I believe it was the 30th of July, no, it was the 11th of June, I think, to the 11th of July. Now you think to yourself, okay, 11th of June to 11th of July, that's 1 month, that's 30 days. It's not, because they count the first day that you arrive into the country as a whole day. So if you arrive at 11:55 at night at immigration on the 11th of June, it starts on the 11th of June, not the 12th of June. So if you count 30 days from the 11th of June, it's not until the 11th of July, it's to the 10th of July. So yeah guys, I don't want to derail the story too much with this video, so I'm keeping it really concise. So I got to the airport when I was leaving on the 11th of July. Sorry, Mr. Reynolds, you have been bad boy. You cannot get on the plane to Velika Britannia. So yeah, you can imagine my shock and disgust. I mean, you know, you try and play it by the book in Russia. Everybody knows that it's a serious country and they don't mess around. So, you know, to learn that I had overstayed because numbnuts at immigration had put the wrong date on my immigration card, I was not happy at all. One could say, well, Tour Travels, you know, it's your responsibility as well to check your immigration card to make sure it's actually 30 days. Well, excuse me, but it was my first time in Russia. I never even had an immigration card before, I don't think, so I just assumed, you know, they can count 30 days. So guys, a load of hassle ensued, and I was advised by Russian immigration or the police there to just get on a train to Minsk and try and leave from Belarus instead of Russia, because otherwise I'll get a big fine and I get banned from Russia for a few years. So I did that, and it was simple. I paid a small fine for my naughtiness, and another fine for an exit visa to leave Belarus. And okay, so I thought, okay, situation over. Real nightmare though. I was out of pocket for lost flights, and like official documents had to provide on all sorts of stuff. Now, second time, went back to Belarus another time, booked into an apartment. Normally I book into a hotel, but this time I wanted an apartment. And you have a certain time you have to check in by, and like I think it was 5 working days or 7 working days or something. And my landlord told me he didn't, and he did, and he didn't. And then the next landlord basically realized I didn't register at the last place, and she pretty much marched me to the immigration center in Minsk like a good little citizen. And then it's like, oh dear, Mr. Reynolds, this is your second offense. So you have a choice: $500 fine or deportation from Belarus. I didn't particularly want to come back to Belarus. It's like 1 year ban. So I just chose the 1 year ban. I was not going to pay $500. But I said to them, make sure, I just wanted to make sure it's going to give me no problems when I'm coming back to Russia. So you know what happened next. Flew back to Russia, arrived at the airport. Sorry, you were banned from Belarus for a year, and your year hasn't expired yet. You can't come in the country. So guys, I think this is the main reason I was denied my visa, because, these people working in authority, they just see things like black and white. Oh look, we've got a British person applying for residency in Russia, but hang on, he's been to Russia one time on his British passport, and that one time he just happened to be deported. So he's not a good person. He's not the kind of person we're looking for in Russia. They're going to help us, be a good citizen and help with the birth rates. So, so that could be the main reason. Now, the thing to bear in mind, I'm not sure if it's with all visas for Russia, but they don't tell you the reason that they denied you. And so there can be many reasons. It might not be that one. Now, it could be my application form. They're very kind of specific about the application form. You have to fill it in perfectly right. And and it can be a bit ambiguous, this application form, because it doesn't quite translate into English properly. It doesn't quite make sense. And that's why there are lawyers that can help you out in this situation, I think. So that's one of the reasons. Could be the application form. It could be something else. Maybe they have some kind of point system. It's like being deported from, because Russia and Belarus have got kind of joint borders these days. So if you're deported from one, they consider you deported from the other. So that was maybe a maximum 10 points for that indiscretion, then something else and something else and something else. And it all adds up to, not being desirable. So everybody, I'm not sure it was any, it's probably nothing to do with the application form. These lawyers, okay, they can take care of the whole process for you. So once you're inside Russia, they can make sure you submitted all the forms correctly in Russia. And they also help out with a medical check. So they test you to make sure you haven't got HIV. And just like general health checks, just make sure you're not on your last legs kind of thing. And so you have to go for these health checks. They have to be translated, notarized. Oh, that's another thing from back in the UK. You have to get your criminal record check apostilled. And that's another thing that can eat into that 3 months allowance for your criminal record check. You have to get that translated and apostilled. Then you have to get the passport translated. So I wasn't even near the end of this process for Russian temporary residency. Oh yeah, that's another thing. It's temporary residency you're applying for. Then after 3 years, I believe it is, you can... No, after 11 months, I believe you can apply for permanent residency if you take a language test and a Russian history test. So guys, talking about those lawyers, they charge generally, can be about, in pounds could be like £1,000 on average in Russia, but can be a bit more, or there's some shysters out there who are looking for some naive type Westerners who will charge you multiple times that amount, or try to. Okay guys, so let's go back to the early stages of my application. Now, yeah, I don't want to say anything bad about the Russian consulate in the UK that I was dealing with, but it was difficult because you can't contact them by phone. They just don't answer the phone, so you have to, you imagine you have to send an email for every question you had. My email account was dozens of emails to them checking this out and the other, because the details of this scheme are still so vague. So, and it took me 2 months to get an appointment at the consulate in London. All right. My conversations with the consulate in Scotland are a lot better, a lot faster. But I kept on telling them, can I come up there instead, because it's taking so much time. And I was trying to tell them, I'm in the country spending so much time in the UK because I'm waiting for this appointment. So I was happy to go up to Scotland, even with the extra expense and everything, if I could just get things done quicker. So yeah, I eventually got an appointment, and so I'd spent money on the criminal record check, the visa fees, travel fees going to and from the consulate. I had to go there to apply, and then I had to go back there to pick up suffer the indignity of picking up my passport after a failed application. Yeah guys, so after more than 3 months of messing around in the UK, I finally got an email from the British consulate in London saying, unfortunately your application has been rejected. So I was naturally gutted, and it wasn't the money that I spent on documents and all this kind of stuff. It was the time spent around in England twiddling my thumbs that really got me. So this was a strong kind of life lesson, and I tried to get this process done in another country, and I just couldn't get a clear response from anybody whether I can, because I was asking if I can get this done apply in Serbia, because I would have much rather spent the time in Serbia than the UK. I said, and I got one answer one time saying no, you can't, you have to apply from your own country. And then I got another answer another time saying yes, you can, as long as you have residency in Serbia, then you can apply from Serbia. But then it turned out it was not possible. And to be honest, all these consulates, like I said, not going to be rude or say anything to get me in trouble, but I don't think they quite have a unified, let's think of something polite to say, I don't think they have a unified procedure for all different countries for dealing with this shared values thing. So everybody, as you can imagine, I was gutted. Now, Tour Travels is not the most emotional person in the world. I think it's because I lived in Eastern Europe for so long, we're all stoic and tough and strong. But I did have a small tear that welled in my eye when I saw that very blunt rejection in my email, very Russian email. And, but yeah, life goes on, and my desires for spending moving to Russia eventually have not abated, and I'm not blaming Russia for this in any way, because I've met Ukrainians and Russians who have been denied British visas, and it's much more kind of painful for them because there's more costs associated with getting visas in the UK, and it's just as stringent as the Russian application process, I believe. So yeah, it was tough, but I've definitely learnt from this saga, and I'm just going to look at other options in the future. So it was tough, everybody, but the good news is that I'm going back to Russia soon. That's the shared values visa. Now, I'm sure I've missed out some certain kind of information from the process, but my head's kind of a bit confused thinking about my experience and then the process and that kind of thing. So I'm sure people in the comments are going to mention some other important points. But don't let my experience put you off, because I've had, my British passport's full of kind of travel mishaps as well. My regular subscribers will know I had some travel mishaps, and maybe they take those into consideration. But yeah, if you're interested, then go for it. I would suggest you probably take a lawyer from the very start of the process if you can. Like I said, I don't think that's why I was rejected, but as you're not given a reason for your rejection, then that will just remove that kind of doubt from your mind, knowing that they've done everything correctly. So yeah, the process is you're in an unfriendly country, contact your consulate. Hopefully you get an appointment quicker than me. You get your private visa for 3 months. Off you trot to Russia. As soon as you get there, you submit all your documents. So that will be criminal record check that is apostilled and translated, and then your passport that is just translated. Maybe it doesn't need to be apostilled. Somebody will probably correct me on that. And then you got to take all your medical tests and whatnot. But yeah, this is a great opportunity for you to live in a country that historically there's been a lot of barriers to moving to. So they're opening up Russia. They know, they can't, they need to open up a bit more to the world because they've got severely declining birth rates for one reason or another. So they want to make sure that they've got some virulent men that'll be coming to the country to help out in that regard, or your whole family. You can move your whole family to Russia. So yeah, absolutely go for it. It's a unique chance. That's not to say there's not other options for moving to Russia. You can get a work visa. You can find some company that wishes to employ you. That could be, in a lot of cases, that can be teaching English, but maybe you're a highly qualified person. You could be an engineer that they're looking for to work in a nuclear power plant or something like that. Or you can be a student. Students are a good way forward, because you're going to want to learn Russian anyway when you move to the country, and it's a very effective use of your time. And you can marry a Russian woman. So I think there might have been some change. I think that might get you temporary residency. I'm not sure. I'm not going to say about the marriage, because I know things are changing all the time, so I'm not quite sure what the situation with marriage is. But you can imagine that if you marry a Russian woman, or if you're a woman marry a Russian man, but no men marrying Russian men, okay? Because that's not what the shared value is about. That's not going to help with the Russian birth rates. Babies don't come out of bums. So that's it for this video, everybody. It looks like Mr. Tool's adventures as a Brit in Russia have come to an end. I mean, it was a bad omen, you know, when I went to the country for the first time, then ended up getting in that grief. And to be honest, I didn't want to be a Brit in Russia anyway, because the politics are so bad between the two countries. Being a Serb in Russia is much, much better. So everybody, I'm here for a little while yet, then off I go to the mother Russia. So I'll be knocking out a couple of videos before I go, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And if you have any questions, everybody, on the process, then get in contact with me. If I don't know the answers myself, then I'll find out for you, okay? And as always, you know, if you can spare Mr. Tool Travels a few beans to help with the production of these videos and the time I spent, that'll be much appreciated. So yeah, until next time, take care everybody.